Hey Internet, welcome to Zesty Narratives, an ongoing series where I watch the films that you should avoid, summarize them into zesty narratives, so you don't gotta watch them. Today's film will be the first of 3 very unnecessary films in an unnecessary trilogy, where we take an unnecessary trip back to Middle-earth, in The Hobbit, The Unexpected Journey. The film logically begins with some candlelit narration. Bilbo, who seems to be catching up on some light paperwork, has an old Toby flashback of some dwarves and dragons battling it out underneath a mountain, while Frodo eats an apple and contemplates what he's doing in this trilogy of films. Frodo checks the mail, argues with Bilbo, then wisely exits the film never to be seen again. The film finally gets going, and by gets going, I mean that it goes absolutely nowhere but back 60 years for yet another flashback. We get a scene with Bilbo and Gandalf that's so charming that I'm almost forgiven for thinking this film will be halfway decent.
What do you mean?
Before Gandalf vandalizes Bilbo's door, then peeps through the window as all good friends do from time to time. We fast forward to the late evening where Bilbo fries up a fish, hears a knock at the door, spies a dwarf, then has his fish eaten. Yet another knock is heard, yet another dwarf is seen at the door, moments pass, then another knock is heard at the door, and, surprise surprise, more dwarves at the door.
By my beard.
Some swords are handed off, a glory box is ruined, food is eaten, more food is eaten, the door is wrapped upon once more, and another pile of dwarves come tumbling through. It's at this point that I am presented with the terrifying possibility that the entire 3 hours of film that I'm about to see will be little more than dwarves showing up at Bilbo's house. More food is eaten, a song about dishes is sung for some reason.
That's what Bilbo Baggins hates!
Another knock is heard at the door, and my worst fears are realized when yet another dwarf is standing there waiting on the other side. A conversation is conducted about Smaug. Bilbo is offered as a burglar, Thorin rejects, Bilbo detests, then passes out in protest. We hear a haunting rendition of the desolation of Smaug that's infinitely better and substantially shorter than the next half-baked film in this franchise, before everyone takes a quick siesta in preparation of the comically slapstick adventure that awaits them. Bilbo wakes up late, chases after the company of Thorin Oakenshield, and the adventure is finally underway. Sort of. Bilbo hops on a horse, forgets his hanky, and I can't believe the film has time for this nonsense. We're treated to some clips from the New Zealand Board of Travel, before the film slams on the brakes, yet again, by camping out for the night. We're then treated to an awesome action scene. No, just kidding, it's another flashback. Wait, a flashback within a flashback? Flashbackception? We're given an answer to a question we never asked about how Thorin got his surname, and how to perpetuate the Pale Orc plot device. We leave Flashbackception and return to the dwarf camp. Thorin walks towards a cliff, Gandalf smokes some more of that sweet old Toby, and the Pale Orcs conveniently find our party to introduce some tension? Yeah, sure, we'll go with tension. The dwarves take a trot through the trees, before we're introduced to yet another character via flashback, side story, or something? I don't know. I'm already kind of only half paying attention. Radagast returns to his dirt home to find some dead animals, feeds a porcupine some crystal meth, spouts some spells, talks to a bird, then rides some rabbits towards a spooky keep, before we're finally allowed to rejoin the Fellowship of the Arkenstone. But don't get too excited, because we're rejoining them at exactly the point when they decided to, you guessed it, stop at the night. Some trolls show up in an attempt to trick me into thinking something's actually gonna happen in this film, but, of course, that's not the case. We find a cave of callbacks, before Radagast shows up to pile more pointlessness onto a very simple premise. Some orcs show up, the company falls down a hole, which naturally leads them to an elven kingdom, as most holes do. Agent Smith shows up to welcome the dwarves, gives them some food, realizes the story has stalled, and offers them a boost to send them on their way.
It would seem you were meant to come to Rivendell. Fate is with you, Thorin Oakenshield. The same moon shines upon us tonight.
Holy happenstance.
Saruman and Galadriel also show up for some reason in this farce, but I do everything in my power to block it from my memory as though it never existed. The dwarves walk along a treacherous cliffside and watch as failed CG models of Fan Four Sticks Thing scrap it out, and some low lighting and some thunderclaps. Bilbo falls, Thorin saves them, they take a snooze in a cave, and why God, why did this have to be a trilogy? Bilbo tries to sneak away because reasons, the floor caves in because other reasons, the dwarves tumble down a shaft that should have left every bone in their body broken and bruised, and then are immediately swarmed by goblins and taken
Down in the deep of goblins!
while Bilbo is left behind to facilitate the plot for the next trilogy. Some goblinses are whacked, some riddles are told, and I suddenly find myself thinking that the entire 3-hour run could have been better spent if it were just Gollum and Bilbo exchanging riddles in a cave.
Blesses and splashes, precious. That's a meaty mouthful.
We return to the dwarves who are about to get axed, until Gandalf shows up again, as he always does, to save the day at the very last moment. The dwarves make a daring escape that looked much better in 3D on opening night, and by daring escape I mean completely improbable slapping the laws of physics straight in the face. The Fellowship of the Arkenstone exits the cave, reunite with Bilbo, and the film is over. Except, just like Batman v Superman, ooh, it isn't. We're treated to a tacked-on fight between pale orcs and the Fellowship of the Arkenstone, as my bladder is literally about to burst from the Jumbo Coke Zero and the large Sour Patch Kids I scarfed down while trying to stay awake during this 3-hour snooze fest. Things catch on fire, Gandalf talks to a butterfly, Thorin charges forward to, of all things, the frickin' Nazgul score from the Lord of the Rings trilogy, cause fuck me, right? Bilbo does some heroic things that are completely uncharacteristic, almost loses his life, but we're all good because the Eagles show up to save the day.
Hate the fucking Eagles, man.
The Eagles for some reason leave our heroes perched precariously atop a plateau, then fly off as quickly as possible so Gandalf can start his 3-month cooldown on his wicked cool Call Eagle spell. The film finally wraps up with a shot of the Misty Mountain, a menacing Eye of Smaug, and that's it folks. I congratulate you all on witnessing a solid opening act for what should have been a single film and not a full-on trilogy.
Yes.